We have massive news coming out across the entire digital asset space. As usual, we have final participants kind of lined up for a wholesale CBDC pilot in Australia. We have MasterCard and Algorand. We have kind of a, I don't want to say redaction, but I'll say update to the GSMA document find from a few days ago with Hashgraph, Bitcoin, Lightning, Ethereum. The Telcoin army came out in numbers to kind of shine some new light on some of the information. So with that being said, let's hop in. All right, so I want to start with this. This is Project Acacia, the industry advisory group meeting. This is interesting because this just came out yesterday. This is kind of on the heels of that Swift document, the new MX standards that go live November 22nd that incorporate all sorts of stuff with blockchain and crypto, where I had mentioned at HederaCon how Rob Allen from Australian Payments Plus was interviewing, I want to say her name's Alyssa from Swift, who came over from R3. So interesting timing that this stuff comes out. I'm not alluding to, there being Swift stuff involved in this, but obviously Swift deals in everything. So as far as banking is concerned, but this is the Project Acacia update. Now there's an industry advisory group that is falling under compliance with RBA competition law. So Reserve Bank of Australia. What's interesting within this is you see the progress to date with all the proposals here. And these are the shortlisted networks for a pilot wholesale central bank digital currency and the number of proposals nominating the network. So Ethereum or EVM compatible private permissioned wholesale CBDC. You have 6 proposals across 3 separate networks. So 3 networks have submitted altogether 6 proposals that deals in private permissioned instance of Ethereum or EVM. Hedera private permissioned 1 proposal. You've got Red Belly public permissioned with 3 proposals and R3 Corda private permissioned with 3 proposals as well. Factors considered in shortlisting these networks: project timetable and resources available, level of interest expressed by lead entities in the various networks, and the number of use case proposals, and then the internal assessment of the extent to which the networks would address the range of public interest considerations that would be important to any decision to issue public money on an external network. They're going over some just broad updates as far as what's going on in the digital asset space. UK Treasury published draft legislations. Bank of England renewed their real-time gross settlement service, which 1000% we covered. I think this was last week about where this all leads to from distributed ledger, where they've been talking about this for probably 4 or 5 years at this point. They are going to be leaning into synchronized settlement and atomic settlement and distributed ledger. It's not saying that their renewed real-time gross settlement service is not built on distributed ledger, from my understanding, but it can 1000% interact and be integrated. UK digital gilt, et cetera, et cetera. So stablecoin / deposit token interchange. Now, again, I mentioned Rob Allen from Australian Payments Plus. Rob right here within this document as well. Topics to include insight from the US and UK regulated liabilities and settlement network trials. Overview of the UBIX proposal, views on the UBIX proposal from an Australian context, stablecoin / token priorities for Australia. This stuff goes back a little bit further though. So, Australian Payments Plus is kind of an amalgamation of like 3 different entities out of Australia. AFTPOS was an OG governing council member of Hedera. Now you have Australian Payments Plus being a council member on Hedera. So, you can look back into some of the background of this. This project goes back a little bit of time here, back in November of 2024. Much longer document. You got 46 pages here, which I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you can certainly look through it. Then you have 13th of December. You have kind of this AFMA welcomes the opportunity to provide comment on the Reserve Bank of Australia and DFCRC's second phase of Project Acacia. So there's your comment section. And then here's kind of an old school, non-confidential, redacted document that is the proposed amalgamation of BPay, FTPOS, and NPP Australia. These all combined into Australian Payments Plus. Uh, I remember finding this document way back in the day, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, and seeing all the redacted stuff. There's a little bit about Hedera stuff in here and distributed ledger, but not really anything to write home about. But there's a ton of stuff redacted that you can see confidential. So anyways, I do believe that since this is talking about, and then I'll move on here in a second, since this is talking about private permissioned instance of Hedera, this is definitely referencing HashSphere. We did an interview with Eric Piscini of Hashgraph on HashSphere with our all hands showcase, which is in collaboration with Hashpack. Hashpack, obviously the biggest wallet on Hedera. So not any sort of advice, any sort of which ways. Genfinity is media partners with Hashpack as well. So, but we did do an interview with Hashgraph CEO Eric Piscini on HashSphere, and it directly in here mentioned Australia Payments Plus, Australia, which is, for those of you guys that aren't aware, Australia Payments Plus is like the ACH system of Australia now, because that's what FTPOS used to be, Australia and New Zealand's ACH system. So it's all BPay, NPP, and FTPOS rolled into Australian Payments Plus. National Payment Scheme Operator and Hedera Governing Council member is an early adopter of HashSphere, Rob Allen. Leading future payment strategy at the organization, cited HashSphere's compliance, privacy, and interoperability as critical reasons for their involvement. So there's definitely a HashSphere initiative going on in Australia. Wanted to give a shout out to the Algorand ecosystem. Para Algo just announced the beta launch of the Para Debit MasterCard. We're going to see way more stuff like this. I think that MoonPay actually announced like 150 different kind of I forget what the announcement was today. It had to do with MasterCard. But this is Para Algo, a groundbreaking feature that bridges the gap between your digital assets and everyday spending. The initial beta is going to be with Germany, UK, Italy, Spain, and New Zealand being the first countries to launch, with more coming later this year. Not just another crypto card, a seamless, instant, and secure off-ramp that showcases the power of Algorand. Check the links below for full details of the announcement. It's going to be really cool to start seeing more MasterCard and Visa initiatives that just kind of interact naturally with how we normally do whatever we do as citizens in society. Stable coins, especially with regulatory clarity, as I've said before, are going to be, I think people underestimate how widely adopted these stable coins are going to be. You even saw in that GSMA document, which we'll get back into here in a second, like all these locally issued stable coins. I do want to mention we have a really big, obviously another really big topic outside of like RWAs and real world asset tokenization is like all of the agentic AI stuff. We're tying multiple ecosystems together next Tuesday and next Wednesday. So Algorand, XDC, Constellation. You've got Eliza OS, which is obviously huge in Web3 for AI. Headstarter, you've got some VCs, so Funders, Outlier, I think Hive and Helix. But this is going to be the Hedera Open Convey Agentic AI demo day, one of 2 demo days. I want to say that there's 14 pitch participants, but it's cool to see a lot of these different layer ones kind of supporting each other in these initiatives. We've really seen a shift in that over the past like 12 to 18 months. Also wanted to give a huge shout out to Constellation, delegated staking and tessellation V3, probably the biggest upgrade the networks ever goes live, I think next Tuesday. So if you are interested in the Constellation ecosystem, definitely check that out. And I wanted to give a shout out to XDC ecosystem as well. Everybody's a consensus right now, and they had this RWA mixer. It reminds me of Step Brothers with like the F and Catalina wine mixer. So, and if you guys aren't aware, so like I was obviously through Genfinity, we do a ton of podcasts with XDC as well. I should have showed you guys a one. If I have it up, I'll show it real quick. But let me see if it's here. Okay, so and these aren't like what I find really interesting within the XDC ecosystem podcast that we've been doing is like we're actually talking to people that like actually know what they're talking about from the trade finance industry, that have been in the industry traditionally for decades. So we interviewed Andrea Frozanini, just a couple of days ago. The guy has like a wealth of knowledge from the trade finance standpoint, and just kind of getting into all of the basically like the band-aids that have been put on top of band-aids in that industry, and just how much room there is for integrating blockchain and distributed ledger to actually solve real pain points in trade finance, and to actually create like a level playing field for SMEs who, they talk about the 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 or 3 to $7 trillion trade finance gap. That's all the small and medium enterprises not getting funding. And you have all kind of the big banks controlling everything, let alone the fact that we still have paper documentation driving international trade, which is wild to say in 2025. So certainly an industry that's ripe for disruption. That's a really good interview if you guys want to go check that out. But they have, so I was given a heads up that we will be doing kind of some really interesting RWA spaces. Plug and Play and XDC Networks RWA Accelerator is pretty massive. There's some really, really big ecosystem participants involved. Clearpool, Tokeny should ring a bell to anybody in probably multiple ecosystems. Hedera just integrated the Tokeny kind of compliant tokenization standards. I forget which ERC it is. It's an ERC though. Credify, Polytrade, obviously really big. Plume, really big. So I think you're going to start seeing some stuff shake out from this RWA accelerator. Hopefully we can do some podcasts and some interviews. And, I haven't heard directly who some of the judges are of this, but I think that there's some like really big traditional names that are judging. If I can get any of them onto a podcast, I definitely will. All right, let me hop into this before we ramp down here. So this is the GSMA document I found a few days ago. This was publicized, I think, in April, but it looks like it was authored in March. To preface this is essentially talking about like a new kind of like financial system like for telecom. And they directly talk about the IMF's special drawing rights in here, but an ESDR, so an electronic special drawing right. Now, I do, before I hop too deep into this, want to still stick to, I think it's really interesting that you have a few different networks that are talked about for the architecture. So you have Ethereum-based, you have Hashgraph-based, you have Lightning-based. Where I definitely got into trouble with the Telcoin army, and I did in the video mention that it was authored by individuals from Telcoin, I think right in the intro, and I think in the video as well. So you see Zane, Hedera, Telcoin, Vodafone, Swirlds, which is Hashgraph now, Mento Labs, and GSMA. I was not aware, and I'll show you guys this. So I was not aware that EUSD and ESDR are like literally right on Telcoin's website, like directly mentioned as being like, Telcoin initiative. So EUSD and ESDR, and then you can see that right here. So Telcoin, digital cash, multi-currency stablecoins powering the Internet of Money, next generation mobile financial services now available in the Telcoin wallet. So here you've got EUSD coming soon, the world's first regulated bank issued dollar. Telcoin EUSD coming in 2025, issued by Telcoin Bank. A digital asset bank is the first US dollar stablecoin issued by a regulated bank, connected to the backbone of the traditional finance. You'll see this. I think this is out of Nebraska. And then you see ESDR, a special drawing right here as well. That makes more sense because they're talking about all in this document. They're talking about, and I remember seeing all of these locally issued stable coins. You can kind of see all of these, national stable coins right within here that they're trying to roll out. So yeah, definitely want to give a shout out to, and here's some more stuff, some of their community. They like flooded my Twitter. It was like, you are just trying to pump your own bags, buddy. And it's like, dude, I've been doing deep dives for like years on the ecosystems that I pay attention to. But I definitely said I would correct myself too, which I'm doing. So this is talking about the ESDR, the special drawing right. You can see another post here, ESDR. This is coming on the back end of this. Telcoin grateful for the opportunity to contribute to GSMA's recent white paper about the benefits, opportunities, and challenges associated with stablecoin adoption by the telecommunications industry. And here's that digital asset bank. Telcoin granted approval. This is February 4th of this year to open Nebraska's first digital asset bank. You can go and look. They're right on GSMA's website as well. The first telecom-focused crypto distributed in partnership with GSMA network operators to mobile subscribers globally. Central mission of financial inclusion. Yeah, you get the picture though. So definitely wanted to, you can go and check out all the GSMA members here. There is a ton. Definitely wanted to give a shout out to the Telcoin community though. Was not aware of EUSD or ESDR. I thought it legit was just like an electronic version of USD, which could be any stable coin. And ESDR, that's the first time I've actually even ever seen that term. So now I know, and now everybody else knows as well. So shout out to the Telcoin community for coming out in numbers and making sure they got their information out there. So still pretty cool though. And now I should mention it. Let me go. This section provides an unbiased. This is their blockchain and DLT architecture that they're talking about. Unbiased overview of tech and protocols within the crypto space, which are candidates for building the technological platform of a stablecoin arrangement. The intention is to highlight technical features without endorsing specific products or vendors. It's important to note that the three technologies which are depicted in the following represent just a subset of the numerous options currently under development. So you've got Ethereum based, Hashgraph based. So maybe they're just talking about DAGs in general, like what is it, directed acyclic graphs, and Bitcoin Lightning. But you know, this could get pretty broad. And obviously, Telcoin baked right into this. You can see the infrastructure stuff, as I mentioned, EUSD, ESDR. ESDR settles with recipient. Provide EUSD and ESDR liquidity to the liquidity provider. You get the picture, right? So, and again, authored by members of Vodafone, Mento Labs, GSMA, Hedera, Telcoin, Vodafone, Swirls Labs, which is now Hashgraph. So, thought that was pretty interesting, and shout out to that community. Check out the AI space we've got coming up, and we're seeing more pilots for wholesale CBDCs. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Enjoy the rest of your week. Oh, I did mention, I think that graphic has the Ripple SEC stuff too. Shoot. I saw let me find it. Let me find this real quick since it's on the video thing. All right. I'll read Jim's OG in the XRP community. SEC Gov versus Ripple. Judge Torres has denied the party's motion for an indicative ruling. Quoting, if jurisdiction were restored to the court would deny the party's motion as procedurally improper. Fred definitely has a background here and can speak on this. The meaning here is that the parties didn't request relief under the right rule of civil procedure, so they will need to refile it under the correct rule. But me reading between the lines is that Ripple and the SEC need to get on all fours and beg for relief. I think Stuart Alderati of Ripple said that Ripple and the SEC were aligned in their mission to bring this to a close, which is interesting. I don't think obviously Ripple and the SEC haven't been aligned on anything in 4 years, 5 years, ever maybe. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you when I talk to you. Thanks. Bye.